Today we are going to learn about polynomial long division. Now the problems on your worksheet are going to be written a little bit different than the way I write the problems. So I'm going to demonstrate how I would write the problem out. So your first problem is written out like this. Now for me personally, it's a lot easier to solve if I write it out as a long division problem. The first thing that you have to do is you have to see how many times the first term goes into the first term. Now, since 6 goes into 48 8 times, we can go ahead and write 8 on top of the division bar. You also have to keep in mind that you're doing x to the third divided by x to the first. And when they're stacked, you subtract. So you have x squared. Your next step after first into first is to go ahead and distribute your 8x squared. So 8 times 6 is 48, and x squared times x to the first is x to the third, because when you multiply, you add the exponents. 8 times 5 is 40, and you drop the x squared, because the 8 has x squared. Now, we're trying to cancel stuff that's under the division bar. So in order to do that, it has to have opposite signs. So these 48s have to be opposite signs in order to get 0x to the third. If you change one thing on a line, you have to change the other thing. So it'd be 10 take away 40x squared, which is negative 30x squared. And we can drop down the remaining terms. So far we've done first into first. We found our answer, which was our 8x squared. We went ahead and multiplied our 8x squared through, changed our signs to get our x cubes to cancel, added our 10 and our negative 40, and dropped everything else down. Next, we have to do our first into first, which is pretty much repeating what we already did, but with our new negative 30x squared. 6 goes into negative 30, negative 5 times, so we put the negative 5 up top. We also put an x because x squared divided by x1, when they're stacked, you subtract. And after we do first into first, we always distribute. So we're going to distribute the negative 5x1 to the 6x1. In addition to our 5. So negative 5x1 times 6x1 is 30x2. And negative 5x1 times positive 5 is negative 25x. You'll notice these x squareds are always matching, so they should actually both be negative at first, because negative 5 times 6 is negative 30. And then we want to make sure they're opposites after we've distributed, so that way they can cancel each other out. If you change one thing in this line, you have to change the other thing. Now we can add them up. And drop down our negative 35. Our last step, once again, is how many times the first goes into the first. Since 6 goes into negative 54 negative 9 times, and the x's cancel, we can put negative 9 on top, and then distribute the negative 9 to our 6x and our 5. Negative 9 times 6 is negative 54x, once again seeing these terms matching, and negative 9 times 5 is negative 45. We can go ahead and change our signs. In this line right here, the x's cancel, leaving us with a remainder of positive 10. You can label your remainder with an R, and I'll just be looking at the top of your division bar for your answer and your remainder of 10. So your answer is 8x squared minus 5x minus 9, remainder 10. We are going to do one more example just to make sure that we're really grasping this concept. As you can see, I've rewritten our problem already to make it easier to solve. Once again, we do first into first. Negative 35r squared divided by 5r is negative 7r, because 1 plus 1 gets us a power of 2. After we do first into first, we always distribute what our answer is. Negative 7 times 5 is negative 35r squared. Negative 7 times negative 7 is positive 49r. Next, we change our signs so that our r squareds can cancel. And we add up down the column, getting us a positive 50r. We repeat through the steps, so we always do first into first. 5r into 50r, which is positive 10, and the r's would cancel. We filter the 10 through, so we'll do the 10 times the 5r and the 10 times the negative 7. We write that below. Since we want our 50s to cancel, we have to change the signs on this line. And as soon as you get a lonely number, you have your remainder, which is negative 7, and your top answer above the division bar.